Okay, chat, are we ready though? Because this is kind of strong. A deep dive into the self-inflicted downfall of Mizkif. Uh-oh, chat! We're watching this train wreck in slow motion. Lay it on me, mama.
How do you go from averaging 6 viewers per stream to 40,000 in just a few years, reaching—
You're a cameraman for Ice Poseidon. Next question. I just saved you an hour and a half.
192,000 on your most viewed stream of all time? Well, that was Mizkif, a normal guy who used to be a Twitch fanboy, and who in just a few short years would find himself hanging out with those same streamers that he had admired, calling them friends or co-workers, and finding them reaching out to him in order to be a part of his streams because he had outgrown them. And to take it a step further, he had co-founded an organization with streamers that he used to watch in his bedroom. Streamers that were there from the absolute beginning of Twitch. Mizkif's success story was—
Why is he the only one that's not smiling? Even Asmon and Tectone are smiling. What is going on? Why does he look so depressed? Can someone explain that one to me? Like, every single person is smiling. Even with their teeth with their mouth closed. Because they all got more views than him. There it is. And making eye contact. You're right. He's avoiding eye contact.
Unprecedented in both its speed and scale. So how is it that you can go from the top of the world to the absolute bottom, isolated from everyone you used to call a friend? Well, all it took was one stream from Emiru on the 25th of October, 2025. She is one of the biggest streamers in the world, and in that stream she would reveal to us that for years she was in a secret relationship with Mizkif, and in that relationship he did horrendous things to her. To the surprise of everyone, Mizkif in just a few hours would come out with his own response during a live stream, and it would be terrible. It would be catastrophic. He would confirm the majority of the things Emiru was saying while trying to twist it into something else that didn't matter at all. He had essentially managed to make the situation 1,000 times worse, and guys, it was already terrible. And look, by now, I'm sure you know how internet drama works. When it rains, it pours. And after Emiru's statement, many others would come out with their own statements about their own experience with Mizkif and how much of a terrible person he was. This once incredible success story had gone from inspirational to morbid. And Mizkif, once at the top of the streamer world, was now completely and utterly isolated. So what the hell even happened? Well, look, as someone who was chronically online on Twitch during the rise of Mizkif, I think I'm pretty well equipped to talk about this topic while also explaining to you what made Mizkif so special, how he was able to rise to fame so aggressively only to so violently lose it all overnight. So you already know the drill by now. Let's do this.
Let's go.
Art comes in many different forms, like this ancient Japanese illustration in which an octopus is doing certain things to a woman. There's also this illustration of that same woman killing that same octopus. I think there's like a story there or something. But the point I'm trying to make is that art is subjective, which is how I can explain the fact that I consider these 4 new sugar-free premium energy cans from GamerSubs to be pure art. You can buy one of these chosen at random for $3. And if you don't like to fool around with RNG, then you can buy a whole case, 12 of them, for $33. And the best part is that you can use the code Mujin at checkout to get 10% off your total order. And finally, if you actually do buy something with my code, then join my Discord, DM me personally with proof, and I'll give you a special roll. You'll find all the necessary links in the description and the pinned comment. So now, without further ado, for real, let's get to the video.
I endorse this message.
Alright, so as I mentioned in the intro, Mizkif was essentially a nobody. He was an average guy. He completed college and he was about to work a full-time job.
Yeah,
he would have a bit of a health scare and would end up in the hospital. This would change his perspective on things. And that's when he would decide to start streaming. The only problem was that, well, he was getting 10 viewers. And as soon as he felt that he was making some sort of progress with the viewer count, reaching 24 average viewers, the next month he would go back to 6. This is the reality of being a small streamer. It's hell on earth. And he was getting very frustrated at the fact that he wasn't growing at all. This is when he would decide to diversify. He would make a YouTube channel. It was called Mizkif at the time. Today it's called Mizkif Documentaries because he renamed it. But the idea was very simple. Mizkif was a streamer fanboy. He was very active in many of their communities communities, which gave him a keen understanding about what makes a streamer laugh, their sense of humor, while also taking into account their community's inside jokes. He would use this knowledge to create documentaries.
Asmongold reacts to Who is Asmongold with 10,000 viewers. This guy loves viewer counts, man.
Some of the top streamers at the time, except they'd be mostly inaccurate. They'd be full of false info and inside jokes. It was mostly meant to be comedic. That's because Mizkif was hoping to showcase his own sense of humor. His first video would be titled Who is Tyler 1? And to his massive disappointment, it would barely get any views. He'd start to spam this link in multiple communities, hoping—
which is super cringe, by the way—
that someone would click on it, would watch it, would react to it, and eventually someone would. Mizkif was truly hoping that Tyler 1 himself would react to this live on stream.
If it's truly funny, the streamer will find it. I gotta say this. The algorithm will push it if it's really funny.
But instead what he got was Tyler 1's brother, Erob221. He
fucking Erob, man.
Watch that video on stream, and that would be one of the most defining moments in Mizkif's career. That's because Erob would enjoy it, he'd laugh at it, and his chat would love it too. Seeing that many of the top streamers would share many viewers, they'd start to post that video in other streamers' chats too. Mizkif would then make a video titled Who is Greek God X, one of the top streamers at the time as well, and he would react to it live on stream in front of 12,000 viewers. These videos would start to gain traction, and Mizkif was reconsidering maybe he wanted to be a YouTuber since he was finding so much success here compared to Twitch. But before he could even begin to see whether these YouTube videos would actually bring in more viewers on Twitch, he'd all of a sudden receive the opportunity of a lifetime. This is what truly changed everything. Look, by now, it's no secret. Twitch originated from Justin.tv, a website that was originally made for you to be able to stream yourself to strangers while they interacted with
Twitter, MySpace, Facebook? God, Justin.tv was onk status, dude.
You in chat. Twitch would be created purely for gaming content. Justin Khan, the founder of Justin.tv, would see that there was big demand for gaming-centric content, especially with the rise of esports. This is when he and his team would create Twitch.tv purely and only for gaming content. If you wanted to do more vlog-centric content, then you would just have to go to Justin.tv. However, at some point, Justin.tv would shut down, and Twitch would be bought by Amazon in 2014. However, around December 15th, 2016, Twitch would make a big decision. They would now allow you to do IRL streams, in which you vlog yourself walking on the street, going to a restaurant, whatever. This was a very big deal because prior to this, you were not allowed to stream on Twitch unless you were playing some form of video game. And one of the first streamers who would take full advantage of this change, of this shift of content on Twitch, would be Ice.
It's hard to believe Ice Poseidon used to just be a RuneScape streamer and getting fucking horrible TTS donations blasted at him.
Poseidon. Before doing IRL, he was an old-school RuneScape player who lived with his parents. What made him unique at the time were multiple factors, one of them being his very loyal and loud community, as well as his song requests, in which that community would
only OGs know, man.
Request songs that seemed legit, that seemed real, while randomly sprinkling in the N-word and other slurs to make him react to it and then say, "You're banned," which at the time made him blow up. After the introduction of IRL streaming, Ice Poseidon would move from his home in Florida to Los Angeles, in which he would become a full-time IRL streamer. Barely 7 months after the introduction of IRL back on Twitch, he would be featured on Rolling Stone with an article titled On Air with LA's Most Wanted Man, live streamer Ice Poseidon. A year later, The New Yorker would send a reporter to Ice Poseidon's house to start documenting his life. He'd end up writing a very lengthy profile about who Ice Poseidon is, what he does for a living, and how it all works. It was very in-depth and would take you around 41 minutes if you want to read it. Look, I don't even know if I can explain to you fully just how much of a big deal this guy was. You really had to be there. He was revolutionizing not just streaming, but the absolute definition of what good content was. He'd find himself in ridiculous situations and would make content out of anything and anyone. His community would be global. I mean, it was so powerful that you'd see random graffiti like this of him on a wall. Not to mention that even to this day in 2025, if you type richest man in LA on Google, you find his picture. That's something his community did on purpose so that
$4.7 billion net worth, self-made.
He can go flex to random women on the street and hope to pick them up. Today, In hindsight, his content seems average, but back then
this was back when people didn't really know about sleep streams where people would donate TTS to wake people up. Like, that wasn't really a thing until he kind of like made it popular.
He was the first to do it. He made a video, for example, about how he made $5,000 while sleeping, in which viewers could pay money to request songs to wake him up. And that's something that even streamers like iShowSpeed have done today. That was later. But what really changed everything for him was when he would do the RV trip stream, in which he would get a bunch of his friends on an RV and tour the country randomly, impromptu, and would create some of the best, most memorable content the live streaming world has ever seen. Now, tangent aside and back to Mizkif, Mizkif had made a video on his channel titled Who is Ice Poseidon? And Ice had reacted to it with 11,000 live viewers. He found it funny, his community loved it, and so that's when opportunity struck. Ice Poseidon's manager, Brent Caskell, otherwise known as Scuffed Steve Jobs, that's the name Ice Poseidon's community gave him, would reach out to Mizkif and tell him, hey, remember RV Trip 1? I'm sure you watched it. We're about to do RV Trip 2. So how about you come along to the sequel of this legendary stream, and maybe you can make an actual real documentary on Ice Poseidon this time. Mizkif would immediately take the opportunity and fly out. This would be in the summer of 2018. However, as always, there was a complete miscommunication between Ice and his manager, with Ice introducing Mizkif as his cameraman for the trip, and that's exactly what ended up happening. There was no documentary to be made. The man behind the camera for most of the trip was Mizkif. But that's not to say that Mizkif didn't have memorable moments himself, making his own mark on the stream and being able to showcase his sense of humor. Look, overall, just like the first trip, the sequel managed to be just as crazy. And this time, Mizkif managed to be a part of it. Back during 2018, anyone who watched or had anything to do with streamers knew that this RV trip was happening and was keeping up with it in some shape or form, including the subreddit Livestream Fail. You see, initially, this subreddit was made purely to share fails that would occur on livestream. Since it was live, it meant that the odds of bad things happening was way higher than usual. The subreddit would truly peak during the H1Z1 days, in which you would see a bunch of streamer bugs, drama, and fails. Soon enough, though, the subreddit posters, as well as the mods themselves, would realize there were only so many fails to find on Twitch or even YouTube. It's not like 100 of them happened every day. Soon it would be a place to post any highlights from streaming, whether it be funny moments, memorable moments, sad moments, you name it. But during the RV trip, both the first one and the second one, Livestream Fail was littered with clips from those trips. Like, you could go to that subreddit every day and the entire front page would be full of clips of what had happened the prior day, because not everyone could keep up with everything happening, right? It was the biggest advertisement Ice could have ever asked for. Hell, even bigger streamers at the time, like Doc.
A lot of streamers don't understand that people don't want to sit through an entire stream, and sometimes your most popular clips and the way people get to know you is from like clips and shorts. That's how LSF got really popular with these streamers.
Disrespect would hint that they were keeping up in some way or another with this RV trip. It was that legendary and unprecedented. This was like reality TV show without the scripts or the producers. This was reality, period. And people couldn't get enough of it. Unfortunately though, RV Trip 2 would end in a disaster, in an incident dubbed Horseshoe Bay, in which Ice Poseidon would very nonchalantly, with no empathy whatsoever, break up with his crying girlfriend live on stream because he had cheated on her with her friend in the same hotel he booked her. This turned his entire community against him, and he was overall hated like never before. And of course, throughout this entire event, Mizkif was the cameraman. I mean, you already know at this point. His very powerful community would revolt against him.
Again, what did I say about airing out your relationship laundry in public?
And would vow to boycott his streams unless he stopped being such a stupid person. And while his hate was at an all-time high, the livestream fail mods saw an opportunity. Ice Poseidon was very controversial. His community was uncontrollable, and overall, he was a liability. So they initiated a community vote to ban Ice Poseidon from livestream fail. You wouldn't be able to post anything about him, talk about him, nothing. And seeing that a huge chunk of livestream fail users were also part of Ice Poseidon's community, this was perfect because they could give him a big middle finger. Everyone knew how much the subreddit helped him to grow. So they voted yes. And Ice was banned from livestream fail for many years to come. In the meantime, though, Mizkif completely avoided all this negative attention. During the RV trip, he had met streamers like Erop221, and they had followed each other. In fact, he had networked with quite a few people. And so after the RV trip 2 had ended around June 2018, he had started to see momentum on his Twitch channel that he had never seen before, going from 6 viewers to a few hundred.
That's a lot, of course, and a few hundred back in like 2018 is insane.
Enough to live out
like now, a couple of hundred in perspective. I would say because of like how popular Twitch is now, so to speak, I would say a couple of hundred is probably closer to like a couple of thousand.
Dream. No, he would take it yet like, another step forward, moving into a house with a bunch of other streamers like Erob221 and creating content together. Look, by this point, if it wasn't obvious yet, Mizkif was you. He was a normal person. He was someone who just watched streamers, and now all of a sudden he was sitting in a room with all of them laughing. Many people were dissatisfied with Ice Poseidon's behavior and started to watch Mizkif instead and would support him monetarily to see him live out their dream. They were essentially living through him. And they would make sure that no matter where you were on Twitch, you would hear of him and his new community. For example, someone would make him an emote, and he would call it Mizkif Egg. Now, in order to network, he made it a point to always raid someone after streaming. And I mean, you guessed it, they usually were bigger streamers. After he would raid a streamer, the only thing you would see in that streamer's chat was this obnoxious-ass emote. His community would spam it so much that most streamers would actually end up banning it. It was impossible at this point to not know who he was, or at least have heard of him.
It's viral marketing, too. It's kind of scary.
A few months later, you'd find him on the Scuffed podcast that was made by Trainwrecks TV.
Mizkif should have been like a corpo, like aggressive marketing CEO. He would have been so great at that.
And in it, he was so comfortable sharing his sense of humor, having conversations with some of the biggest streamers on the platform. Trainwrecks would make it a point to bring in smaller content creators from time to time, but none of them would shine through like Mizkif truly did. It's as if he had prepared his entire life to become a streamer, and now that he finally got the opportunity, he was excelling at it. And
what's scary is that with how Mizkif functions as a person, because he's been studying all these people, he knows their mannerisms, he knows how to joke around them, and that's like half the scary thing about collabing with people that you don't know, is that you don't know where to tote the line, and this guy knows it because he's been watching them avidly for years. So he can kind of like social chameleon into it really easily.
Showed. Most of his streams at the time would be spent playing marbles, in which users in his chat could race each other to get first place, or he'd straight up just spend his time doing the most random, ridiculous things you can imagine, like doing front flips on his stream, shaving his head and his eyebrows, staring at a wall for 10 hours. I mean, truly, it was the Wild West, and people loved it at the time. As this was happening, and around the end of 2018, people would start to realize something. The livestream fail subreddit, once known to share fails of streamers, and then eventually talking a lot about Ice Poseidon, would now become a forum that fueled Twitch drama. Didn't just talk about it, but actually played a critical role in it.
It's super toxic because, like, you know what the other thing that's bad about, like, LSF is that there's somehow moderation involved, and there's also been proven instances of the mods in LSF having a bias towards certain streamers. So, like, conversations get shut down really easily, and it creates a bias, and it fuels drama and toxicity.
I mean, this right here is the front page of Livestream Fail from the Internet Archive back in 2018, and you can see that. Whenever there was a big Twitch ban, whenever there was drama, whenever there was a highlight, it was always on this subreddit. More than once, you'd see Twitch drama that was fairly niche make it on the front page of Reddit, which would attract tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. It wasn't just all about highlights anymore. This was also about gossip, about drama. However,
I never see VTubers on LSF, I feel like. Isn't that weird?
One familiar face you'd start to see often on the front page was Mizkif. He had a talent of making many clippable moments. He could turn a serious moment into a humorous moment. He could make a boring moment into something ridiculous, and everyone would start to clip it and share it, knowing that they'll get free Reddit karma. In fact, his clips.
Wait, isn't that the guy that threw up on stream? Am I crazy? That's the guy, isn't it? Or am I thinking of someone else? I swear there's a really old clip. No, maybe it wasn't Grosscore. There was a Shadow Priest on World of Warcraft that streamed back in I want to say like 2015. I don't know about that. I know it was a Twisted Face streamer. Okay, hold on. I think I'm confusing him with someone else. And there was an RBG Shadow Priest that was streaming on Twitch back like in 2015 or 16 that threw up all over himself, like projectile vomited all over himself on Twitch. And I remember And I remember like seeing that clip on live stream fails. Wow, I feel really old all of a sudden. Holy shit. Yeah, and I remember he got so like blasted drunk, or he was on drugs and he like just threw up all over himself.
Would become so damn common that livestream fail would make him a filter.
I think they look
this
alike.
was a very big deal at the time, because look at the people that also had a filter. Dr. Disrespect, Soda Poppin', Trainwrecks TV. There was a filter for drama, and there was
Asmon's not there. Interesting.
a filter for XQC. This guy was now one of the greats. And mind you, this happened in under a year of him getting off RV Trip 2. It was insane. He was finally starting to see the fruits of his labor. He had gone from a few hundred viewers to now having over 1,000, and within the beginning of 2019, he'd
jumping from 3K, from 1,500 to 3K is insane.
Have over 3,000 live viewers. This already took him from being a hobbyist to someone who can do this full-time and make a lot of money doing it. But of course, to Mizkif, it wasn't enough. There was so much more he wanted to do, and he was only getting started. But the question was, how do you go from having 3,000 average viewers to later reaching over 7,000? How do you go from the top 1% of Twitch to the top 1% of the top 1%? Well, the answer is one simple word: parasocialism. On April 21st, 2019, a user would post a clip on Livestream Fail titled "Scuffed Pokimane brings actual content to Twitch." It would be upvoted over 5,000 times and would end up on the front page of the subreddit. Here's the clip. Watch.
This is Bean.
Oh my god.
His name is Bean.
Is that a freaking eagle?
Name him. He is a juvenile red-tailed hawk.
Oh, it's a hawk. Oh yeah, like, hawk.
He's probably 6 months. He was hit by a car a few. Oh, they're really excited about the hawk.
That's a cool hawk, man. He was hit by a car a few months ago. So I just got my falconry license and I'm rehabilitating him for a couple months. So that's
I
pretty
just
cool.
fly him every day, and I weigh him every day.
So yeah, the whole point of this clip was the fact that she kind of looked similar to Pokimane, but was actually bringing real content to the platform, showcasing her hawk while being very confident about it. As always, Mizkif would waste no time. He saw how popular she was on the subreddit. He saw how many viewers she gained after that clip was posted. And so when he found out that she was trying to build a PC, he reached out and gave her some advice. Of course, it wasn't mostly helpful. It was mostly comedic.
Oh no. Oh, wait, a 2060? Oh my god, this is 7 years ago.
Jokes, and it was really just for content. At some point, Maya would give him this look of desperation, and it would actually become a very popular emote.
Oh yeah.
But what happened soon after, though, is that they would actually keep making content together. And Mizkif would notice fairly quickly that every clip posted of these two on Livestream Fail would get upvoted to oblivion. I mean, guys, as someone who unfortunately browsed this dumbass subreddit every day in 2019, I can tell you right now that not a single day went by without seeing a clip of Mizkif and Maya on the front page. It was getting ridiculous.
That's how I know Maya. I didn't know that Maya was the girl that did animals. I knew that Maya was Mizkif's girlfriend at one point. Even though she was known for like taking care of animals and being really cool and stuff, I didn't know about her and then put the dots together. Yeah, Fillian's collabed with her. A bunch of people have collabed with her in the past for her animal sanctuary.
People were shipping them hard, so it's no wonder that in just a few months, Maya would move in with him, and this would be their reveal. Watch.
I'm going to meet her family.
That's not it. That's not what he was going to say. That is true.
Chat, we're roommates.
We're dating. He's my boyfriend.
Look at how excited the chat is, dude. What? Look at these people. Look at how excited everyone is. You're probably wondering, why are people so excited over two streamers dating? Well, it goes back to the whole parasocial aspect. Mizkif was a normal guy. His viewers saw themselves in him, thinking
people also like shipping in, what is it called? In like reality TV shows. Yeah. Wow, that's awkward, so cringe. Yeah, well, to some people, this is their hobby. They just can't help themselves. They're like, oh shit, poggers.
he can do it, I can do it too. They lived this dream through him and also wanted to live the dream of finding a girlfriend like Maya through him too. And now, yes, this is very wholesome, this is very nice, but you've watched rom-coms before. You know that all the excitement's gone once the couple kisses, right? Was this going to be the case here too? No. It wasn't. If anything, the parasocialism got even crazier. When Mizkif would cheer Maya up on stream, it would get posted as a clip on Livestream Fail. There will be wholesome moments in which Mizkif tells Maya that she doesn't deserve him, she deserves better, and that he's very grateful to be with her. Aww. On Livestream Fail. Oh look, another clip of these two with over 8,000 upvotes. Oh hey, that's another clip right here, 6,700 upvotes. Would you look at that, the same amount of upvotes, again, another clip featuring them both. Guys, this got so ridiculous that at some point someone posted a clip with the title, Maya eats some of her cereal and then breathe.
4,000 upvotes!
And within the span of 6 hours, it would get more than 4,000 upvotes. This was meant to make fun of the state of this subreddit. Yes. It was literally just a place to post clips about Mizkif and Maya at this point. Yep. You see, this subreddit, even though it had evolved into being a space to discuss Twitch drama, still had a big void that wasn't filled after the banning of Ice Poseidon. This new parasocial aspect between Mizkif and Maya would definitely fill the majority of that gap. And thanks to this subreddit and many of these clips going viral, sometimes being on the front page of Reddit, many people will start to find Mizkif. There's this thread on the Mizkif subreddit asking out of curiosity, when and how did he discover Miz? One of the top comments says, oh yeah, he made an impression of Tyler 1 and it was a clip on Livestream Fail. Another one would say, oh yeah, it was a clip in which Maya was explaining to Mizkif that a skunk was not a pet. There are so many comments in this thread. I mean, there's 451 and so many of them.
It's a really clever social... I don't want to say experiment because he clearly knows what he's doing. He's doing this on purpose. It's the same thing as collabing, but like on another level because you're getting into their real life. You get in their head, you get in their space. Collabing is like, oh, you know, one and done kind of thing. It's like you do it a couple of times, maybe you actually become friends or like streamer friends. Yeah, social engineering for lack of a better word.
Will point to the whole Maya and Mizkif arc. No wonder the guy went from 3,000 average viewers to 8,000 right before becoming official with Maya. And look, some of you may not be fully aware of what 8,000 means, but just to give you some perspective.
And this is pre-COVID too.
Sponsors will pay you $1 to $2 per viewer per hour when you play a game, for example. So imagine what 1 hour of a sponsorship would be like. Imagine 2, imagine 3. This guy would be making some yearly salaries in just the span of a few hours with this view count. From many people's point of views, he had already made it, essentially. But to Mizkif, there was always more room to grow. The numbers could always go further. And seeing that the whole Maya and Mizkif arc had come to a conclusion, he had to move on to the next bigger and greater thing. And for that, he would take direct inspiration from his using people as stepping stones or stepping stools. Mentor, Ice Poseidon. Gordon Ramsay is one of, if not the most successful celebrity chef on the planet. But you see, just like Mizkif, he had very humble beginnings. When he was 19, he was a nobody. Someone that had done technical college and done a bit of catering here and there.
His mentor was a massive prick.
However, he had that hunger, that drive, and he wanted to be the best, so he went to the best. And at the time, that was none other than Marco Pierre White. Marco was, and still is, the youngest chef to ever attain 3 Michelin stars on a restaurant in the UK. That is the highest honor a chef could ever hope to achieve, and he did this while having the reputation of one of the first chefs that had a potty mouth. This guy would absolutely torture, destroy his staff. I mean, people would come in and try to work for him. After a day, they would leave. He would kick out celebrities from his restaurant if they gave him attitude. And he was seen...
honestly, based.
As a rock star. Gordon would absorb everything he could during the span of the 2 years he worked for him, and would then go on to establish his very successful businesses. I mean, truly, even if you were to ask him today, he would credit much of what he learned to Marco. If you want to be the best, you simply learn from the best. And that's exactly what Mizkif did with Ice Poseidon. During our V-Trip too, everyone was just having a good time, being high, doing whatever, but Mizkif was there providing entertainment, but also sucking everything like a sponge, understanding what made Ice special and seeing how he operated. Many of the things he learned with Ice would stick with him. And after he had received unprecedented, crazy, insane momentum due to his relationship with Maya blowing up, the next step for him was incorporating everything Ice had done thanks to his influence. Now, some of it would be very direct, right? Like poaching the brains behind Ice Poseidon's operation and hiring him instead. Jacob was the man who set up all the tech of Ice Poseidon's streams, kept track of his dashboards, his stats, and even his financials. Mizkif would later hire him to work on operations for OTK. We'll see what that is later. And at some point, he would hire one of the most longtime cameramen of Ice Poseidon, Victor. Now, this was very straightforward. It was very obvious what he was trying to do, but he would also take it a step further. You see, Mizkif understood that a big part of why Ice Poseidon had become so big was because
you can also poach them and people can't really say anything about it either. Like, you come out, if you say, oh, if Ice Poseidon came out then and said, oh, well, you poached my cameraman, it'll make Ice Poseidon look bad. It's just a bad look, so you have to leave it alone for appearance's sake.
he knew exactly how to use the people around him for content.
Yeah.
He didn't manage to do all this alone. He would literally go out randomly on the street with no plans, meet up a random stranger, and make an entire 4-hour stream with them worth watching. But Ice, just like any other streamer, would hold grudges, would have a blacklist, would have people they don't want to interact with if they wronged them. Mizkif was willing to throw all of that to the side if it meant getting more viewers. There was no limit. There was no cutoff point. There was nothing you could do to him that would stop him from collaborating with you if it meant more viewers. Here are some examples. Around April 2019, Mizkif would go to PAX East with another streamer by the name of Svand. They would meet up a cosplayer, and that cosplayer would very openly start to talk dirty to Mizkif. She'd start whispering things in his ear, making him blush, and telling him things like, "Call me daddy." After she would leave and the conversation would end, he would look at the camera and jokingly say, "She sucked me off." To which Svand would say, "Really?" jokingly. A month later, both Mizkif and Svand would get banned for a week. Why? Well, because Jenna, the cosplayer, didn't really like the clip. She didn't like the fact that she was drunk, and she didn't like the fact that Mizkif made that joke, so she sent her lawyers after Twitch to copyright strike their VODs, which made them get banned for an entire week. This had happened a month after Jenna had messaged Svand telling him, "Yo, I didn't really appreciate the joke," and they settled it privately. The outrage was incredible, right? The entire community was rallying against her. In fact, it got so bad that she was even copyright striking Reddit posts made about her. Another post would get made calling her out, DMCAing other posts, and it would reach the front page of Reddit with 22,000 upvotes. It was looking
I didn't even know you could do that, getting people banned over DMCA. I wonder if that's gone now.
Really bad for her, and it was also very bad for Mizkif because to him it's as if his career had ended suddenly for a week. He was having a very hard time mentally to deal with this and would even cry in the shower about it. He would reveal that later. Now usually, right, assuming you were in Mizkif's shoes, you would blacklist Jenna. You would never want anything to do with her ever again, right? Well, 3 years later, he would actually invite her to his stream. They would collab together, and he'd end up uploading YouTube highlights of the stream itself. To this day, his most viewed video of all time on his channel features her. His third most viewed video is also with her involving shock collars, and she would make an appearance another 2 different times with very highly viewed highlights.
So she probably just didn't like that she was drunk. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's so hard to say with this kind of thing. It's like, if she was really not okay with it, she wouldn't collab with him, right? Because, like, at the end of the day, she's far more popular than him. She must have been okay with it.
Videos. This didn't just help her redeem herself in the eyes of the community, it obviously led to way more viewers on both his YouTube and his Twitch. This was someone who was clearly unstable, who was very irresponsible with her lawyers, who got him a week-long ban and made him scared to lose his entire career, and yet there she was, redeeming herself in the eyes of the community while giving him many views. This was who Mizkif truly was.
Think this is weird,
but it wouldn't end here. He would really go after anything that got him views. At some point, a fairly known streamer by the name of Slicker would be outed as a scammer. He would scam other streamers over $200,000 asking for loans, asking for help, and it would end up actually being used for...
If you gave this guy money and knowing that he gambles, I don't know, man. I think you got fleeced, man.
Gambling. One of the people who was affected was a long time...
I wouldn't give money to someone that I know gambles actively. I just wouldn't. Sorry, figure it out.
Friend of his who was dealing with cancer. He had scammed her for over $50,000. It was a scandal of epic proportions, and no one wanted to talk to Slicker at all. He was pretty much deemed blacklisted. It was over, except of course for Mizkif, who would invite him on his stream to hear his side of the story. He would bring him on, he would bring XQC on, he would bring Hassan on, and he would even bring the cancer patient who he scammed out of $50,000 on too, where they confronted each other and Mizkif just sat there raking in the views. And hell, if that wasn't enough, Alinity, the streamer who famously said let's copy Stripe PewDiePie, and who also threw her cat on stream while at some point feeding it vodka, was easily, by 2019, one of the most hated people on the entire internet. At some point, in a teary-eyed apology, she'd say that she's sorry, that she didn't mean these things, that she's trying to be better, and that this isolation, the fact that she had lost all her friends and is hated by everyone, is leading her to have some very dark thoughts. Still though, no one wanted anything to do with her. She was radioactive. No one reached out to her, no one talked to her, no one wanted to help her redeem herself, except one person, of course, Mizkif. He would at some point invite her on his podcast and hear her side of the story. He would help her redeem herself in the eyes of the community, and it would actually end up working. In fact, she'd become a recurring guest on his streams, always collabing with him, always being part of his events, and it really showed that this guy took Ice Poseidon's philosophy to the next level. He didn't just know how to use others for content, he also didn't hold grudges. He prioritized views.
He doesn't care about grudges as long as it gives him more views and money. If she brings him 1 billion views and he makes money off of that, then the grudge is whatever. Because that balances out his egoism because it's giving him power and it's giving him money and clout. Yeah, no, there's no way.
Emotions over feelings, and it worked tremendously well, to the point where he'd even beat his own expectations as he embarked on his newest journey, which would be the formation of OTK.
Oh yeah.
On June 25th, 2020, Tips Out would announce that he was leaving the esports organization known as Method. This was someone who was fairly influential in the content creation sphere, and many were wondering what his next steps would be. Well, they wouldn't have to wonder that long, because a few months later, OTK, otherwise known as One True King, would be announced. It would be yet another network for content creators, more specifically streamers, and as you can see here, one of the founding members was about to be Mizkif, alongside other big and renowned streamers, with Tips Out being part of the leadership. They would make their official announcement on the 11th of October 2020, with the founding members being SFand, Tips Out, Asmongold, Rich Campbell, and Mizkif. This was of course a very big deal, okay? This new org featured some very big content creators, one of them being Mizkif, someone who had been growing exponentially for the last few years and seemed to only want more. And as Mizkif was embarking on this very new and exciting chapter in his life, he would put an end to a previous one, seemingly out of nowhere. On September 15th, 2021, he would make a tweet saying, "From me and Maya, read," linking a twit longer. He'd say, "We want you guys to know that Maya and I have decided to break up. We both want to be very clear that there was no event, no cheating, no drama that led to this decision. We mutually decided that this is what's best for both of us in our current lives. We both care about each other so much and are still friends. We're supporting each other through this, and we ask that you all do the same for us both. We're going to take a couple of weeks off of streaming to process and to take care of ourselves. Thank you for supporting us through these past 2 years. We can both say that they've been some of the best years of our lives, and we're super grateful. See you in a few weeks. Miz and Maya." So for you to truly understand just how big this relationship was in the content creation world, some of the biggest streamers on the entire planet would be commenting words of support here, and this tweet would receive a ridiculous amount of engagement. This was a few months after celebrating their 2nd anniversary, and it really did seem like it came out of absolute nowhere. You'd see people commenting things like this. Normally, I don't give a fuck about people's relationships, but this one hit different.
That's called parasocialism. You have been fried by the content brain.
Of thousands of people were there to witness these two getting closer to each other and eventually, well, making it official, and now it was over. But things were moving fairly quickly, because as Maya was moving out, Mizkif would announce that Emiru, not even a month after the breakup, would be moving in. You see, Mizkif had a house at this point, he had multiple content creators living there, and Emiru was also about to be a part of this. She was well known at the time, she had her own audience, and the reasoning for this happening was that Emiru lived in Kansas and had a bunch of stalkers that threatened her life. Mizkif would so gracefully extend his hand out for her to come live with him in the same house as him and his stream of friends, and she said yes, making her feel the safest she's ever felt. A few months later, on January 3rd, 2022, she would join OTK as a founding member as well. This would blow her viewership up to the stratosphere, okay? She'd be averaging 2,000 viewers, and by the time she would join OTK, she'd be averaging 16,000. Shortly after that, Soda Poppin would join the organization too, one of Twitch's OG streamers. OTK was now the place.
I remember when Soda was a squeaker and he just played Feral and Mop. Mop, yeah.
To be. Everyone dreamt of joining this org. Everyone who joined it would have their viewership triple, quadruple. I mean, this was insane.
I just know
For
him as a
Mizkif,
feral
though,
druid.
OTK would allow him to conduct bigger and better streams, in which he would yet again put Ice Poseidon's philosophy at work and use others for content. He would collaborate with so many different streamers in one of his series that he made with OTK, which was Schooled. In this show, Mizkif would ask a bunch of streamers questions that should normally be answered by a high schooler to see whether they were smart enough or not.
This was really popular. This was a really good idea. Even I watched this.
Only be one of those events, of course. They would have sports days, tournaments.
Yep.
I mean, this org was absolutely on fire. It single-handedly made many content creators want to move to Austin, Texas, where all these streamers lived, so that they can
Big mistake.
be a part of these events. The name OTK was all of a sudden synonymous with growth, with clout, with money. And Mizkif, as a co-founder, was of course at the absolute center. Everyone wanted a piece of him and his community. Everyone wanted a piece of OTK. There was no one who wouldn't collab with him, no one who wouldn't be open to doing something with him. One could say that by this point, Mizkif had truly made it. He was really at a point where he could call himself
those Louis Vuitton boxers.
Be open to doing something with him.
Those are Louis Vuitton boxers. That is insane.
One could say that by this point, Mizkif
before.
had truly made it. He was really at a point where he could call himself the top 1% of the top 1%. This was all, of course, reflected in his viewership. After founding OTK in 2020, he would find immense success in the coming years. By 2021, he was averaging 40,000 viewers.
Wow.
This would stay consistent up until 2022. When the very method that he had used to attain this fame, this idea of using others for content, would fatally bite him in the ass. At the time, many people didn't know this, but this was truly the beginning of the end. Trainwrecks TV is a streamer that's been streaming for almost a decade now. He rose to prominence on Twitch and eventually became a co-founder of Kick.com. Now look, he's always been a well-renowned streamer who would always collaborate with some of the top streamers in Austin.
I remember, I really am like a fucking wow unk, because I remember Trainwrecks leading RBGs, rated battlegrounds in, I want to say WOD, which was like 2016, and one of my friends was a hunter and they played with him like a few times at high rating. And he was a fucking screamer. So much so that everybody would have to mute him every once in a while when they'd go on like they would lose over something stupid. And he would start yelling at everyone. So like, I just think to myself, like, I don't know these people from like, oh, they joined OTK. I'm like, I know them because they used to play WoW, man.
But his big break would truly be in 2021, when he would stream gambling and slot machines on Twitch. But slot machines have always been a category on Twitch for a very long time. What made Trainwreck so special, though, is that he was gambling obscene amounts of money. To a typical gambling streamer, $10 per spin on a slot machine was considered a lot of money, right? They were wagering a lot. Trainwrecks was over here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure people spin usually like $1 to like 20 cents.
Max betting $1,000 per spin and making it look like it was nothing. When a slot machine would hit, he'd be winning hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars live on stream. This made many other streamers want to gamble and take advantage of this new popularity, as well as rake in the money that these gambling websites were offering.
Gambling sponsorships are insane. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Asmund said that with his viewership, with 20,000 people back in like BFA, they offered him like 7 figures. 6 or 7 figures.
Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for just a few streams per year. These streams were getting out of control, and there was big concern over who was watching them and how many were being influenced to gamble, something that can very easily ruin your life.
I hate you. Why? I can't even say 6 to 7? Because they're a bunch of children.
After a year of extreme success for Trainwrecks when it came to gambling streams, Twitch would come in on October 18th, 2022 and prohibit most forms of gambling, specifically the ones that Trainwrecks was operating with. This is what would eventually prompt him to reach out to the founder of the casino he played on and create Kick.com with him. Now, do you remember Slicker, the Twitch streamer who scammed $200,000 out of multiple streamers for gambling? Well, this was in 2022, a month before Twitch had outlawed gambling on its website. As this was happening, many streamers were kind of pointing the finger at Trainwrecks and other streamers that streamed gambling, indirectly blaming them for creating people like Slicker. On September 19th,
I mean, I wouldn't blame them directly. It's like, I mean, like, yes and no. I don't know. It goes into like morality because it's like Twitch allowed this for so long, so like, aren't they at fault too?
2022, Asmongold would tweet, "How in the fuck is Slicker not banned on Twitch? Guy literally uses the platform to defraud dozens of people, streamers and viewers alike, and admits it. JDon is still sitting a perma while Slicker gets to go live and laugh about actual crime. It's an absolute disgrace at Twitch." Trainwrecks would reply to this tweet, saying, "Because your pals decided it was in their best interest to use and platform the very person that scammed everyone for his horse racing and tennis bets to somehow twist it and wager their war against me. And we both know deep down why the insecure little man is doing this." So to Trainwrecks, this whole thing was just a way for people to wage war on him and his success that he found with gambling streams. When Mizkif would see that tweet from Trainwrecks, he would attempt to do what he's always done, farm engagement out of a serious situation. He'd reply to Trainwrecks saying, "If we're going to deplatform people for scamming others, shouldn't we have banned you for Joltcoin a few years back?" This is in reference to a coin that Trainwrecks had peddled on his stream years ago, I think it was around 2017, that ended up going absolutely bust. If you invested in it, you most likely lost your money. Mizkif would of course later delete his reply, but not before Trainwrecks would reply first. And this would be an absolute bombshell that no one was ever expecting. He'd say, "Are you going to send Maya and Mitch to railroad and blackmail me like you did those girls to cover up all those sexual assaults, you fucking scumbag piece of shit? You want to come at me and make shit up? Then you better be sure you don't live in a glass house, you insecure pussy." Now,
my god! Oh my god! He just went for the throat, dude. Actually just went, rabid animal fucking going for his throat and ripping it apart like a freaking animal.
of course, this was ridiculous. This was insane.
If I was that pissed, I'd probably write something like that too. You insecure pussy.
This was never heard of before. Where did this come from? Railroad? Blackmail? Girls? Sexual assaults? Plural? Whoa. This got serious real quick. People already forgot about Slicker. This was over, right? This had ended in a couple of days. Now it was about Mizkif and Trainwrecks. What's going on? Barely a day after Trainwrecks had made that bombshell accusation, a streamer by the name of Adriana Lee would go live, saying that back in January of 2020, right? Bear in mind, we're in September 2022 at this point, she had gone to a party in Mizkif's house, got blacked out drunk, and one of Mizkif's roommates, Crazy Slick, would attempt to do this weird CPR maneuver where it seemed like he was just making an excuse to touch her chest. You see, according to Adriana, she wanted to go live with a twitlonger in 2021 explaining her point of view. This is when Maya would be sent to her house to see the twitlonger and allegedly ask her to not include the word sexual assault in there because it didn't happen. Adriana would post that twitlonger in 2021 and would say that she's been suffering the consequences ever since, being blacklisted out of every party, an event in Austin, and having very vicious rumors being spread about her so that even her friends were forced to separate from her. During her stream in 2022, she'd show us Mizkif's
TBC classic
reaction to her twitlonger.
Oh wait, that's Mizkif playing this with S-Fan.
2021, and it was him completely downplaying it. Watch.
Oh yeah.
Of what you can deem.
Wait, I know this. Oh my god, I'm actually having full-on flashbacks.
It's sexual harassment, whatever. At a low scale, it's not really a big deal. I don't think people really gave a shit and really cared. I'm gonna turn this off if you're gonna be like this. I'll just turn it off.
This clip obviously added a lot of fuel to the fire. It seemed like he didn't care. It seemed like it was indeed
ancient brother. TBC Classic came out in 22, man. Relax.
Kind of a cover-up, and it seemed like Trainwrecks wasn't exaggerating. On the same day, September 20th, 2022, Adriana would make a thread of people Slick has been weird to / harassed / assaulted because people had reached out to her to share their story as well. And in these DMs, we could see Slick being an absolute creep to many women like this one. This one really stood out compared to others because it was him essentially.
I'm just in love with you. Your voice, you're so beautiful. Everything about you, your art, oh my god, please marry me. How many times I have to reject you to drill the idea into your fucking head? You're so amazing. Wow, thank you so much for talking to me. The fact that you use your energy to type to me. I love you so much. We'll be married one day. That is freaky. That is freaky.
just talking to himself, with the woman in question saying, "You're so sad, oh my god, move on bro, take your horniness elsewhere," and him saying, "I'm not horny, I'm just in love with you, please marry me," to which she would say, "How many times do I have to reject you to drill the idea into your fucking head?" And he would just keep on going. What made this worse is that he was doing this consistently to up-and-coming streamers, to people who were growing, who hadn't quite gotten to the famous level yet, knowing full well that they might be interested in him because he lives with Mizkif, the guy behind OTK. The streamer FanFan, for example, was one of the people that Slick was being very weird to. And I mean, look at this. The guy was like, "If we ever meet, you're done." She'd be like, "What, on site?" And he'd say, "You're getting bent over immediately." I mean, it was so awkward, so weird. She was clearly uncomfortable, but in her own words, she didn't want to offend a well-known streamer, right? She tried to keep it simple.
Yes, that is a very powerful tactic that people use if they have a bigger following. If you come out against them, their fan base will likely hound you and say that you're lying, even if you're completely telling the truth.
Because according to other streamers, for example, if he would ask for nudes and they wouldn't send them, they'd just get blocked. They'd get blacklisted from parties, from events, and they would probably have rumors spread about them. It wasn't fun. Now,
this is why I can't imagine like doing like collab content in real life. Like you do one false move and then it's over for you.
Maya, who had long broken up with Mizkif by now, right? It's been over a year, would be forced to respond to this, saying that she didn't pressure Adriana to cover up the assault. She just wanted to make sure that it wasn't as serious as she was making it out to be, making sure that it wasn't sexual assault, while apologizing for injecting herself, admitting that maybe there was this unseen power dynamic, seeing that she was a bigger content creator than Adriana, which might have pressured Adriana into not being as honest as she wanted to. This would make her want to step away from online platforms indefinitely, and that would last for quite a while. But this was only the beginning, right? Mizkif's world was truly starting to fall apart around him. Asmongold, one of the co-founders of OTK and one of the bigger streamers on the platform, would say that he's furious and that he would vow to cut Mizkif loose if he failed to act on Slick's accusations, if he failed to kick him out, if he failed to disavow him. Very shortly afterwards, and I mean, everything I'm talking about right now has happened in like less than a week, right? Like literally in the span of a few days, OTK would suspend him, announcing an internal investigation over these accusations. And if that wasn't enough, Ice Poseidon would come in, make a tweet, and say, "Mizkif, I brought you into this world, and now I'm taking you out." This post got so much engagement, it's sitting at over 87,000 likes, and it shows DMs with Mizkif on Twitter, in which during the RV stream 2, you could very clearly see Mizkif use things like the N-word hard R, the F slur, I mean pretty much anything cancelable imaginable, right? Now why did Ice do this? Was it the fact that his career was dying at this point and wanted more relevancy? Was it jealousy? Was it a mix of both? Who knows? But even though some people were very outraged at this, some others were saying things like, "You letting this slide for years says a lot about you as well." But don't worry, because this roller coaster was far from ending. Crazy Slick would then go quote-unquote missing after he had sent goodbye messages to friends, and they would—
Oh no! He's doing the classic, I'm gonna disappear, you guys!
Would in the same day find him. Barely a couple days after Adriana had come out with her story, Mizkif would make a statement, saying, "Hey guys, to update everyone, we found Crazy Slick. He has not harmed himself. After hearing from Adriana and the numerous other women who have shared their experiences with him, it's clear that he is not the person he made himself out to be." In terms of his living situation, Slick has been told to vacate our house as soon as possible. He would then apologize for the things he said on his alt stream, right, where he was saying, he was downplaying. He was like, you know, sexual harassment, but I don't think anyone cares. And then he'd reiterate that he was open about his past. His messages from 2018 happened, he acknowledges them, but he can't change what he said, and he knows that he's changed as a person. He would then apologize to everyone, his viewers, OTK, the staff, the partners, and would announce the fact that OTK was hiring a third party to investigate all this to make sure that he wasn't complicit.
Stinky.
Now look, this could have ended here. Most dramas would have ended here. Just wait for the investigation and see what it comes up with and move on. But Adriana had other plans. She would keep going live and talk about this, and her statements would then become conflicting. She'd state things like she didn't know that it was sexual assault until recently, and was told by her friends who were still conscious at the time that Slick only touched her wrist and neck, not her chest. She would collaborate with other streamers such as Hassan Piker. She would of course keep streaming, and at some point she'd call a friend, and the friend would admit that this was never assault. So the story was becoming very convoluted, very contradictory.
Yeah, people also tune out. When this started getting all convoluted and like annoying and confusing, I tuned out.
People didn't really know what to believe. I mean, listen to this yourself.
It's kind of a whole fucked up situation, and I don't think people are taking it. It's not like it was a full blown assault. But when you're touching someone who's incapacitated and their friends are asking you to leave the room, on top of you, already trying to kiss people.
So it wasn't a full-blown assault. He was touching her while she was unconscious, but she was told it was only her wrist and her neck. The whole chest part was only added later. So look, Slick was definitely very guilty. We had proof of messages of him being very creepy towards up-and-coming content creators. That's unacceptable. But there were questions surrounding Adriana's involvement as well as Trainwreck's. Trainwreck would come on multiple streams. He would stream himself. He would invite other streamers such as XQC. And he would constantly reiterate that the only reason he talked about this was because victims reached out to him and were too scared to move forward with this. He would really push the narrative that no, this wasn't just crazy Slick, this was Mizkif. He knew what was happening, he was covering it up, and he had a hand in this. It seemed like he was never going to be satisfied until Mizkif's career completely imploded. Adriana would yet again keep going live, saying she hasn't changed her story, she calls out people trying to discredit her, all while talking to Keemstar, right? Not someone
Oh no! Of all the people?
really want to side with you when it comes to drama. The comments on Livestream Fail were getting tired of her, saying everyone agrees Slick is a creep, but she should probably just stop talking. Or Maya apologized and Miz is waiting for the investigation to show him clean. What does this chick want? Slick is gone. So to many, it appeared like she was just trying to milk this at this point. At some point, Ludwig would make a video on this on his Mogul Mail channel. It would get 3 million views, and seeing that Ludwig has many people who watch him that are not familiar with Twitch drama, it would make many people aware of this whole cover-up situation, right? He didn't really cover this favorably for Mizkif. This was yet another blow to Mizkif's reputation. Not only did people on Twitch now understand that this was going on, but normies who have yet to discover him also were aware, oh, this guy's a weird sex pest. Now yes, a few months later, on January 2nd, 2023, he would get reinstated in OTK once the third-party investigation would conclude that he didn't have a hand in this, right? He was not complicit. He truly was lied to and he had no idea. But to Adriana, this wasn't enough. A few months later, on April 9th, 2023, she would announce that she was not just suing Mizkif, but she was also suing OTK, the entire organization, for defamation, seeking over $2 million in damages. She would refer to Crazy Slick in the lawsuit as immensely popular. In reality, though, the guy barely had any viewers, right? He was just Mizkif's friend. That's why he was living with him, and that's the only clout he had. He was also not a member of OTK and not associated with the org in any way, so it definitely felt weird.
How do any of these people have the money to like sue like this too? Suing is expensive.
That entire controversy changed Mizkif forever. In his own words, it broke him. It made him never want to trust anyone again. It really made him feel like everyone around him was trying to use him. And as you can see from his viewership, after this controversy, he would never be able to recover the fame, the numbers that he once had prior to that Trainwreck's tweet. What was interesting, though, in all this is that one of the people who came out to defend Mizkif directly was none other than Emiru. As this was all happening in September 2022, she would say, "No way Mizkif knew," specifying, "You guys know I've lived with Miz for 10 months and I've hung out with him every day since I got here. The Miz that I know would never know the full story and just let that happen."
10 months isn't enough to get to know a person. That's the scary part. She might actually be telling the truth, but maybe, I don't know. With what she's also said is how he loved Baldur, and in the first 10 months, that's usually like the best time.
There's just no way that he knew. I'm sorry, that's just not the person that I know. As she was fighting back tears, about to cry, she'd also say, "He has always been there for me whenever something horrible happened to me without even having to ask." This is what would lead us to the next part of the story. People would notice that Mizkif and Emiru not only just shared a close friendship, there was something there. There was something happening, but they just couldn't really put their finger on it until they received a clue. What would follow would be years of conspiracy theories that would be proven right in the end.
Ooh.
This post on the subreddit Streamers was made on November 2022. The title, "Emiru and Mizkif are obviously dating. Why do people pretend they are not?" What wouldn't help is that a streamer by the name of Justin Minx would say that Emiru stole Mizkif from his ex-girlfriend, Maya, even going as far as saying a hoe is a hoe. Minx at the time was someone who always hung around other streamers that were very well renowned in Austin. So her saying this carried a lot of weight. It added even more fuel to the conspiracies. But then, in May of 2023, the gloves would fully come off. Emiru would accidentally open a file in which she was compiling a bunch of DMs she was receiving from Mizkif.
She was doing this even back then?
These DMs were fairly aggressive, and it was him complaining about how she acts on stream, complaining about her behavior and the people she was appealing to. This was like Christmas Day arriving early for 4chan.
For the schizos, yeah.
Months, OTK 4chan was saying that they were dating. They had a lot of suspicions with these streamers' behaviors, how they'd show up on their streams, their eye contact, etc. But this right here was real, tangible proof. Around this time, the YouTuber Bo Blacks would upload this video titled "Sharing these Mizkif Emiru DM leaks will get you banned," in which we can see these images that she leaked on her stream in very bad quality, and people of course enhanced them. Here are some examples of what Mizkif was berating her with. You literally—
Yeah, this actually matches. I genuinely don't like think of things, blah, blah, blah. Like, you can kind of make it out. It does match.
Lift your legs like a cheerleader multiple times, stick a bottle between your legs and play with it, farm those parasocial people by doing this content in the first place after claiming to me you don't want these weirdos and you hate this community and hate the just chatting community. To many, this just sounded like an over-controlling boyfriend, not a friend who just invited you to live with him because you were worried about stalkers. This is when the conspiracy theorists would truly get to work. Going back through old streams and seeing Emiru clearly have a change in behavior after interacting with Mizkif. For example, during the stream in which Mizkif was berating her for having a glass bottle in between her legs, she'd look at his messages on her phone, leave for 45 minutes, and when she would come back, she would just cry. At some point, Emiru, in another streamer's chat that was a friend of hers, would say, "I got a black eye a week or two ago and it's finally almost gone." Now, these conspiracy theorists were already doubting that this was because of Mizkif being
Dude, the schizos are insane!
abusive towards her, but they had no idea how the black eye actually looked. But thanks to Emiru leaking it on accident, since she had it open as a window and was all tabbing so people could see it for like a split second.
Wait, why are you taking pictures of yourself? Wait, but hold on, why are you...
They were able to see it. Her excuse was that she ran into a wall, but the conspiracy theorists had a very hard time believing that. They were blaming Mizkif. What didn't help was
evidence for a case, but chat, you don't understand. You're a streamer. You're streaming. I just feel like if I was in that situation, I'd be way too paranoid. Like, I would close everything before streaming. Does that make sense? Yeah, never leave evidence for schizos.
that when it came to the people talking about this on Twitter,
even if it's true, why do the schizos have to know about this?
Mizkif would make an effort to block them, further making himself look bad. And I mean, look, this might seem obvious now that we know that, oh, Mizkif did this to Emiru, she made her stream talking about him, he's a weird guy. But back then, it was hard to actually convince the majority of people that this was reality. There were quite a few people that still managed to dislike this video. This was seen as nothing more than conspiracy slop, something that belongs on 4chan and just simply isn't reality.
Are you talking about the image or having the image up and on your PC while streaming? Yes, when you're streaming, why would you have it up? Maybe it was an accident. I don't know. I'm a very paranoid person. I just feel like I wouldn't do that. And by the way, this is like the first time she leaked her DMs too.
Because guess what? In the meantime, Mizkif and Emiru were farming content together, both growing and using each other for views. They'd react to things together, they'd collab together, and of course, all while hiding the fact that they were in a relationship. People would make clips of them, would farm views, would post them on Reddit, on YouTube. I mean, anytime there was any interaction of them flirting or being friendly to each other, people were starting to ship them. This was no surprise, as they had done so with both Maya and Mizkif in the past. This clip of both of them playing Mario, has over 300 million views. I wish I was joking, dude. 300 million. Even after a huge cataclysmic scandal, Mizkif was able to keep a good chunk of his career. He had done what he had always done before, but this time while keeping his relationship a secret. Except, just like with Maya, this wouldn't last too long.
And we would know that this made him pissed off too.
Long.
Now
and he
we
would
know
yet
he
again
hated
find himself
that
alone with nothing more than his community and his channel to comfort him. On May 31st, 2024, Emiru would state on her stream that she needs to get out of Mizkif's house. She'd say, "There's a lot of different reasons, but I just feel like I need to get out of this house. You know, I like living here, but there's a lot of stuff that I haven't told you guys over the years." She specified that it had nothing to do with drama, and most people assumed like, oh, this was her stalker that she's been dealing with for years. In fact, she had multiple stalkers. Maybe that had to do with that. On July 24th, 2024, she would finally move out, but what people noticed was that she moved out all by herself. Mizkif wasn't following her, he was staying in the old house. Mizkif would make excuses for this, saying that this was because he was moving to a different state. He wanted to move to Los Angeles and leave Texas entirely. To the conspiracy theorists, though, it seemed like, no, they were actually breaking up. This was over. And he further confirmed this by running the hell away as far as possible. In the beginning of 2025, he would quote-unquote escape Austin, Texas, and would go live in Japan, spending a very long time there, streaming, making content, and overall, it seemed like he was running away from his past life. Of course, this trip wouldn't be without controversy.
Yep, the cherry blossom trees, I remember talking about it. And again, I had to word it very delicately because I didn't want to piss off all the mistards.
He would do pull-ups on a cherry blossom tree, which would get him in trouble with Japan since they're seen as sacred, but he would end up apologizing and we'd move on from that. Mizkif was just being Mizkif, right? Regardless, he'd get past it fairly quickly. I mean, it was nothing compared to the stuff he's been in the past. And afterwards, he would finalize his move to LA, saying that it's been the best time he's had in a long time, he's been loving the people he's met, and that he's very happy about his decision. This came just as it was announced that he actually won the court case versus Adriana. Her defamation case was thrown out by the judge, deeming it not worth a lawsuit, like this was just invalid. That's probably because she decided to sue him for defamation. I don't know whose idea it was. A lawsuit about defamation in Texas is like unwinnable and it had nothing to do with her being sexually harassed. But whatever, to him, he was innocent, and this was proof. And you know, not much would change. Even while living in Los Angeles, he would still farm clips like he always has. Like this one right here, in which he jumps into a pool and pretends like he drowned, right? Like, hilarious. At the end of May 2025, he'd make an official video saying goodbye to Austin, Texas. The fact that he's moved to Los Angeles, the fact that this was going to be a new chapter in his life. And this would actually be his attempt at completely rebranding himself, reinventing what Mizkif even means. His content would shift from being this video game-centric stream to more finance-focused. For example, in June 2024, he would bid for a broken Lamborghini so that he can fix it. Watch.
The fact that a broken Lambo is $123,000 is insane. That's crazy.
We won! We won!
He'd end up bidding $125,000 for a broken Lamborghini, and his goal was to repair it and make content out of it, seeing that others have done so and gotten millions of views. He would then go on a rebranding tour, right? Going on podcasts with other content creators, talking about how he was canceled, how he almost ended it all, how he was made to be a villain, how he was the victim, and how now he won the lawsuit and he's right here, ready to start over again.
The most misunderstood streamer.
Podcast he went to was the Iced Coffee Hour, hosted by two content creators who were very finance content focused. Here he'd explain many different things. How he was canceled, how it broke his mind forever, how he will never be the same person he used to be in the past, how he's a multimillionaire, how he's shifting towards more finance focused content because his audience has been growing up with him, and how nothing really interested him as much as entertaining people, right? It wasn't about the money for him, it was truly about just being—
And it really worked though. Yes, dude. You know what's scary about this like whole thing is that it actually worked. He did such a good job of PRing his way around, and like all the normies that watch this kind of content. Like, look, 160,000 views in 3 weeks. That's a lot of views. Like, he actually managed to, like, you know, not psyop, but like kind of like influence and manipulate his audience to be like, yeah, he really is the bad guy.
most entertaining possible, reaching the most amount of people. As this rebranding tour was happening, Ludwig would admit live on stream that the video he made about Mizkif's drama with Adriana Lee wasn't really that good. In fact, it was false and it caused severe damage, something that he regrets.
No.
He would specify that he had apologized to Mizkif and tried to include him in his events, but Mizkif was still hurt and didn't like him, not wanting to really reciprocate. To Mizkif, this was perfect. I mean, he was on his rebranding tour, he won the lawsuit, he moved to Los Angeles, he had introduced himself to new communities through podcasts, he was changing his content format. Seeing Ludwig apologize now was the perfect timing. On October 24th, 2025, Mizkif would make a response video saying, "Look, Ludwig as well as Trainwrecks tried to ruin my life. They did inconceivable damage to my reputation, and even though I won the lawsuit, everywhere you go on other platforms, you can still see people calling me a sexual harasser, someone who protected like a weird sex pest." And he blames Ludwig's video for most of this damage because he actually reached a big normie audience. He would end this by saying that, "Hey, if you watched me and stopped watching me because of that incident in 2022, I ask that you give me a second chance." However, even though his rebranding was going perfectly well to the majority of people, to the conspiracy theorists who knew that he was dating Emiru and that knew that her moving out without him meant that they broke up, they found it oddly suspicious how in the beginning of 2025, as he was in Japan, both Emiru and Maya interacted for the first time on stream and actually collabed. You know, it doesn't take a conspiracy theorist to understand this. If two of your exes met up together, it's probably not because they still like you. At the same time, people started
That's true. Yeah, women do not, like, it's not a good sign. It's really not. Especially if they've both been done wrong.
Noticing other things about Mizkif that were very interesting. On the subreddit OTV and Friends Rumors, someone would post, "What is up with Pokey and Mizkif?" on October 11th, 2025. They were wondering, why has Mizkif moved to Los Angeles where Pokimane lives and they haven't collabed or interacted once? Other comments would point out, how come he hasn't collabed with many other streamers that he usually collabed with that also live in LA? It seemed like he was being isolated. What didn't help is that on the 17th of October 2025, Emiru would talk about something that seemed to be her referencing Mizkif.
As someone who strives and like centers their entire content around collabs and then moving to a different city and then nobody wants to collab with you, that is very, very bad.
Watch.
And sometimes there's things in your life or people in your life that, you know, maybe they're not good for you, and chat, sometimes maybe you have to make those choices to take those people out of your life so you can make room for the people that are right for your life, you know. And I also think it's important to never give up. This whole year I've taken a couple breaks, but
So there she was, breaking down on an RV trip with friends, talking about cutting out people from her life, talking about how the last year in particular was very hard on her. This RV trip was actually on the way to TwitchCon, and Emiru truly couldn't catch a break because at TwitchCon she got assaulted by a random stalker. Yep. It was overall an absolute disaster. But let's take a step back for a minute. You know that clip where she's crying in the RV? This was actually downvoted to oblivion. It has 0 upvotes. And the comments were very divided. Some people would say, glad we are back to the usual parasocial streamer drama posts, and someone would reply with, you know things are going well for Mizkif when there's a random post that gets posted to stir hate for him. This is maybe the 4th this week. So see, this kind of person was seeing this as a direct attack on Mizkif for no reason because of weird conspiracy theorists. Someone else on the other hand said, damn, just say Mizkif already. But for the most part, this was really seen as some sort of weird conspiracy theorist pushing a narrative that was so out of proportion to what's actually happening that they should probably be admitted to a mental institution. However, as you may already know, people like this, as well as the many people on 4chan and other gossip forums that have been talking about Emiru and Mizkif for years now, were so damn vindicated on October 25th, 2025, when Emiru would out of nowhere make a stream that would put the final nail in the coffin when it came to Mizkif's entire career.
Yikes.
On October 25th, Emiru would go live on her channel with a stream titled Talking About Some Things. In it, for the first time, publicly, she would reveal to us that yes, she was indeed in a relationship with Mizkif. She'd then read a carefully prepared statement from a notepad in which she would detail to us just how horrendous the years with Mizkif truly were, detailing the things he's done to her, the things he's done to others, and how much of a terrible person he truly was. As she was streaming, she would also remove him as a mod in her channel. And I kid you not, I mean look, I live streamed as soon as it was happening because it was such a big deal. That night, I opened Livestream Fail and I saw the entire front page just full of clips from her stream. It's not even an exaggeration, you can see it for yourself. Here's how she would start off her statement.
I wasn't streaming yet.
Today, I'm finally going to be opening up about the psychological and domestic abuse, stalking and harassment, sexual assault, and threats of blackmail that Mizkif has done towards me, and some of these issues which are still ongoing. For the entirety of this year, I have attempted to separate myself from him and not talk about him at all, and not talk about this issue, and just not make it a public thing. I always tried my
So yeah, that was already one hell of a way to start off her statement, right? But this entire 2-hour stream would be bombshell after bombshell after bombshell. She'd show us the ridiculous amount of text she would keep receiving from
She probably has more than this too, by the way. This is just what she thought was appropriate at the time. You saw from 3 years ago, she was already starting to save like Discord screenshots. Like earlier on in the video.
Mizkif even after separating from him, asking, can you please answer my phone? Writing these immensely long paragraphs about how he regrets everything, about how he wants to spend the rest of his life with her. And this would be on multiple platforms. On text messages, on Discord, on Instagram, the guy was relentless. She'd have more than 14 screenshots of him trying to pursue her on multiple platforms after she had expressed she didn't want anything to do with him anymore. Yikes. And one of those messages would even be like a straight up poem. Additionally, the guy was absolutely crazy when it came to view count and numbers, something that everyone had already known about, but didn't truly understand just how screwed it truly was. Watch.
Me. He's saying like, Emmy, you know, I'm gonna kill myself. I waited, or I'm gonna KMS. I waited so long for this, etc. Basically he was upset because I had higher viewership than him. That's literally it. I had higher viewership than him, and like I said.
Imagine being a successful streamer, dating another successful streamer, right? And going up to her and saying, hey, you know, I want to end it all because unfortunately you have more views than me. It's like, come on, man. Like, what are you doing? Get a grip. But the other things she had to say wouldn't be funny at all. In fact, they were very serious. You know, she'd expressed to us that their breakup wasn't as straightforward, right? They kind of lingered a little bit since she was taking a little while to move out of the house. At some point, she was crying about something. He sat next to her to comfort her, he hugged her, and she claims that as he was hugging her, as she was still crying, he would put his hand in her pants. Really good timing, Mizkif, truly. I mean, yeah, that's the first instinct you should have as a guy when a woman's crying. She would push him away from her, and he'd get up.
I read somewhere that guys hate it when women cry because of the smell. Apparently girls emit some sort of like gross like tear smell, and that makes them want to like stop the crying. I don't know if that's true or not. I just read it somewhere. It's probably bullshit, but like I don't know. Say what now? Fake? I don't know. I read it somewhere. This is not scientific. It's I literally don't know. I just read it somewhere.
He'd say, oh, I feel like I've done something really wrong and I'm gonna leave now. And he just left. She'd also claimed that he was a very dangerous driver, very unstable. But how once he drove 150 miles per hour, telling her that they were both gonna die because another streamer had a collab with Mr. Beast and he didn't. I mean, seriously.
What are you reading and where? Guys, as if you've never read anything on... I didn't say it was true. I was just asking if it was. I just read it.
Is such a loser, bro. But again, it got even more serious when she would reveal the real reason behind her black eye. She'd say that he would throw plastic bottles at her that still had water in them, so they were heavy, as well as his phone at her, which eventually would cause her black eye that lasted for 1 to 2 weeks. I mean, think about it, right? For a phone to hit your face and give you a black eye, it must have been one hell of a throw. That by itself, without mentioning anything else during her stream,
it depends. Was it an underswing or an overswing?
Enough cause for immediate concern. That's textbook abuse right there. Additionally, she would reveal to us just how little he thought of other people in Austin, how he treated them terribly, how he belittled them, how if they couldn't contribute more view count to his stream, they were human garbage to him. Even if they were nice to him, he didn't care. She would recount a story in which someone was very nice to him, was very sweet, and he would shit talk him behind his back, which really alarmed Emiru. There was so much aggression towards someone who was nothing but nice, and there was no explanation as to why he would be angry at him other than the fact that he couldn't contribute anything to his view count. Finally, she'd end her stream by saying that she is filing a restraining order on Mizkif in both Los Angeles and Texas, adding that one of the main reasons why she decided to make this stream was because at TwitchCon 2025, yes, the same convention in which she was assaulted by a stalker, Mizkif went up to her staff and told them that if she were to say anything about him, he would destroy.
Why would you say that?
Destroy her. How would he destroy her, you ask?
Why would he... I need to watch that legal mindset video at some point, because this is like the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Why would you walk up to people and then show us evidence that you're threatening her?
Well, she explained.
Even
very
if you
clearly
truly believe that.
Watch.
Multiple people have told me that his plan was to claim that I kill animals and that I killed my own rabbits, since I had several of my rabbits pass away over the course of 3 years while I lived with him. I'm sure he's probably listening now, and it's probably going to come as quite a shock to him that this information made its way back to me and that I've known for months.
And finally, truly, the last thing she would say here is that she says she predicts that after the statement that she had made, Mizkif would try and sue her. Watch for yourself.
And I also wanted to say that I would not be surprised if he tries to sue me for the stream that I did today.
She was right, by the way.
Not because he thinks that he would win, but for PR reasons, like a slap lawsuit. it'd be interesting if that happened, and I wouldn't be opposed to people finding out more of the truth and things that I didn't even talk about today, and what else he's been lying about.
Discovery,
and I'm sure
bro.
there's also plenty of things that even I don't know about. And yeah, there's more things that I didn't even talk about today, but I'm hoping that now that I have this out, this is the last time I ever have to talk about it.
So yeah, not only did she come out with one hell of a statement, truly something that shook the entire streaming community to its core, because everyone's heard of Mizkif, everyone's heard of OTK, but she was also out here telling us his next steps. She knew everything. And just like any online drama, when it rains, it pours. And it didn't really take that long for it to start pouring like a goddamn tsunami. Very shortly afterwards, OTK would put out a statement saying OTK fully supports its co-owner and sister Emiru, and we stand by her side and admire her strength in coming forward and sharing her story. While Mizkif was one of the several founders of OTK, the organization terminated its relationship with him some time ago for reasons unrelated to the recent events, and he holds no stake in OTK or any of our other companies. Out of respect for those who have come forward, we will let their voices speak above ours. And speaking of voices, they all started to pour in. A streamer would say, for years, on my Twitch stream, I had stated I had one bad experience with one Twitch streamer within my 9 years of streaming, and they're finally being exposed for being a terrible human. Another streamer would say, having been in this industry for years now, I've been exposed to many creeps. Sometimes when they are larger creators, I've been scared to say anything because I fear will negatively impact my career. Last weekend at a TwitchCon after party, Mizkif came up to me to say hi, but just grabbed the top half of my face. My friend was in disbelief and told me I should say something as that was super disrespectful, but I've always been scared of offending people.
I hate it when people grab me without warning. God, that fucking pisses me off. I hate that shit. I don't know. I just makes me so angry. Like, I'm fine with like hugs from like friends and stuff, but like grabbing me, whether it's like by my arm or like by my neck or my head or like anything like that, it just freaks me out. Like, you're lucky if you don't get freaking socked.
And I chalked it up to him being weird. Thank you, Emiru, for bravely speaking out, and I can't even imagine the horror she has gone through this year. It sucks that sometimes we can't express our discomfort because we fear it negatively affecting our livelihoods. So yeah, you know, he just walked by and instead of saying hi, he just grabs the top half of someone's face. Weird. I think this is what happens when you reach such a crazy fame level that you start seeing people as genuine NPCs, as objects, as people that don't really matter, like they don't exist. Now look, at this point, I'm not really surprised when it comes to streamers and content creators being outed as weirdos. Unfortunately, you've come to expect these things, but still, as someone who actually does cover these things, well, for a living at this point, I still managed to get shocked at one thing in particular though. Rekful was one of the OG Twitch streamers, right? He was the pioneer, the inventor, pretty much, of text-to-speech donations, for example. Tragically, in the summer of 2020, he jumped out of a balcony and, well, left this planet. For many streamers and content creators, this is a very sensitive topic, as he was a very nice guy who clearly had mental problems. As the controversy with Mizkif was happening, someone would uncover a clip of Rekful from a long time ago in which he would call out Mizkif for being a bad friend that only cares about clout. Watch.
How does it feel knowing that there are some people who like you because you are famous? It fucking sucks. See, I know for a fact that me going live right now raises the chance that Mizkif doesn't ignore my texts and hang out with me by like fucking 69,420%, you know? It's fucking actually nuts.
Now this sucked.
And people are joking around and they don't get that he's actually being 100% serious, that he ignores him only when he's not live, dude. Ugh, he's so sad, dude.
But it wasn't what truly shocked me. It was this tweet from the content creator Arya Saki, who was a close friend of Byron, otherwise known as Rekful. She started this off from a quote from Mizkif in 2025, in which he said, "One of the reasons Byron killed himself was because he was jealous of me."
If that's true, like, you are such a scumfuck piece of shit for saying that. The guy had a history of mental problems in his family and himself, and you think you contribute even like 1% to that? You're such a clown.
She would then state that the reason why she had even reached out to Mizkif in 2025 was because she wanted to take him out to lunch for a serious talk. She was coordinating with Emmy and she wanted to play the middleman. She knew of his terrible treatment towards others and wanted to see if he truly felt remorse after all the controversies he's been through, if he's actually changed. But with that statement, she confirmed, no, actually, he was even worse than he used to be. Arya would specify that she knew Byron very well and that she spoke with him every single day leading up to when he left this planet. And not once did he mention Mizkif's name, not even once.
Yeah, because he doesn't
dude, this genuinely left me speechless. We're out here talking about the final nail in the coffin. Bro, there is no coffin anymore. It's been rendered to ashes. Like, what the hell is going on? But we weren't done yet. A producer who had worked for an OTK event that featured Mizkif would come out and talk about her experience with him. She'd say that others were more fit to host, but Mizkif insisted that he wanted to host himself. Okay, cool. Usually for an event on stage that's live, she has to present to you everything that's going to happen, where you can step, where you can't step, what to expect, what not to expect. But Mizkif kept telling her he was too busy, so she actually offered to come to him and explain. She did that and actually drove to his house. Now usually there would be rehearsals, there would be practice. He wouldn't show up to any of that. He'd only show up barely an hour before the event was meant to start. So
I would hate people like this. If you've ever like done anything to do with like, I don't know, theater or like band practice or anything like that, you hate people like this because it's like everything becomes uncoordinated because of them. Every single thing.
she ran him through everything very quickly, even though they were meant to rehearse, and it was obvious he didn't really do that much of a good job. What she noticed though was that after the stream, he was feeling down. Everyone was around him, comforting him, and no one paid mind to the producer who tried to avoid this from happening. The guy wanted to always be at the center of the spotlight, but was unprofessional and disregarded everyone around him. That lines up with what Emiru said, and I mean, there's another clip literally of him on stream admitting this, but people saw it as a joke and didn't take it seriously. Watch for yourself.
I'm gonna come to my family reunion.
Only if I could take a picture and say pun with the family.
No, I know, I don't. I actually don't want you to go. It's because you're like a psychopath. Miz, when you're normal, even at parties, you stand around like this with a drink, and then you walk up to people and you're like, you know, I wouldn't talk to you if your viewership wasn't as high, you know? Like, that's literally what you do all the time. And you're ego asshole.
Because I don't take any of you seriously because you're not actually my friends. No, I'm sorry. You know you're my friend. And is Senna a real one?
No.
Okay, let's begin on this whole thing.
This clip is perfect to truly show you who Mizkif truly was, okay? He was in his natural habitat here. Whenever someone would bring up something serious...
Aspen said he has some sort of medical episode or some shit? I see. Okay.
Even morbid. I mean, the fact that he saw everyone as objects, that no one was his friend, he would always manage to deflect.
But he said that out loud, though, to several people, and said that, like, people didn't really matter to him unless he could, like, use them.
And make it a farmable clip. I mean, if you posted this on social media or Reddit, it would get upvoted like crazy.
Yeah,
Anytime
no
someone would have criticism or become serious, he would always turn it around, and people would say, oh, you know, that's just Mizkif being Mizkif, right? That's not actually how he behaves off stream, I'm sure. He's just doing this for the content. Everything was for the content. People would also find old clips of him admitting the fact that, yes, he had a fear of his ex Maya surpassing him in viewership. Why
do you care so much? Dude, these people don't stream for fun. They just only care about clout or money. This is crazy.
Watch for yourself.
I was terrified. I couldn't understand what was happening. My viewers were dropping, Maya's were only going up. And there was a part of me that thought that I was going to be
because Maya's entertaining?
Smaller than her, and I don't know if it was my ego or what, but I couldn't take it. I felt like shit. And I was on the phone with Austin, and then XQC, I somehow got on a call with him, and he talked to me for hours, making me feel better about it. And he did. And I genuinely, after talking to him, felt a lot better. And I don't think he even realizes what he did for me in that call, but he really did help me a lot. I was nonstop. It's all I could think about is that she was beating me as a streamer and I was going to die. But then he reminded me that women have a cap and men just grow as streamers, and that's pretty much just fucking it. So... felt a lot better after that. I really did. So thank you to XQC.
Right, so as ridiculous as this statement was, the chat was full of hearts, okay? Everyone was there to support him. Everyone was like, aw, like he was insecure and now he's over it. How did he get over it? Women have a cap. Men to the moon, baby. I mean, he wouldn't just talk about this behind Maya's back. He would say it to her face during a stream. Look at this.
I succeed.
No, okay. I used
Poor
no,
Maya.
no.
I hate this clip so much.
Used to get upset. I'm not kidding you, chat. I used to legitimately get fucking pissed because I'm like, are you fucking serious? I brought this bitch into the world, and now all of a sudden she's fucking growing faster than I was. Because I was going like this, and she was...
Dude, look at her face.
...going like this. And I'm like, what the hell is this crap? What is going on here? It's...
Yo, Maya, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know about this clip, bro. This is so sad.
It's the fucking Babsity effect. So I was pissed. I'm like, you were such a pussy.
The fact that you can say that and feel like it's okay that you felt
yes.
that way, like, yeah, I was like that. Like that is.
Yeah, Mizkif made you, bro. Oh my god, the ego. I don't know, man. I'd lose my temper. I can't handle like people like this. I could not like live in LA or Austin. I'd lose my fucking mind. Crazy. Gun to my head.
That's bad.
Is it bad?
Yes.
And guess what? I don't care anymore.
That's bad.
But I don't care anymore.
But you're being so casual and like being like, yeah, I used to get really bad. It's like, that's not cute. That's not cute and funny. Again, airing out your laundry out in public. And also her I'm sorry, this is the pause on her face.
And I stopped caring.
He's okay as long as I never have more viewers than him. If I ever surpassed him in viewership, which will never happen.
Oh, she'd be done. I'd pull the plug.
He could not take it.
He'd pull the plug, guys. Did that mean he would end the relationship, or would that mean that he would cut the internet router, which he had done before, by the way? At some point, she had surpassed him in viewership, and her stream went...
If I found out, if I was living in a streamer house, which I would never do because I freaking hate people, if I found out you pulled the plug, I'm gonna put a plug up your ass.
Offline. Yes,
I don't know how they tolerated his ass.
Was that petty. Also, I want to point out how he said that he had brought her into this world. Mizkif truly felt this way, right? He actually felt that he brought her into this world, so he was owed that he stayed bigger than her. And yet, no one saw the red flags here either. It was just Mizkif being Mizkif. It was just for the content, guys.
It's so
it was
funny.
just
It's
for the
so
clips.
cute.
Anyway, other streamers would mince no words. Like Asmongold, he'd just straight up say, fuck off, have some dignity, and retire. He was over this. He'd also say that he's known about this for 6 months. Imiru, Sina, and Valkyrie, right? Some of the biggest female content creators would reach out to him, ask him for advice. And he wouldn't say anything because he didn't want this to come out without Imiru's consent. He'd end this by saying that he regrets ever platforming Mizkif and giving him any sort of viewers. Another Austin streamer by the name of Kyuko would also come out with her side of the story regarding Mizkif, saying that during their first hookup, she was so drunk she couldn't even keep her eyes open. She was initially supposed to crash on the couch, but somehow ended up in Mizkif's bed. He would then have his way with her and she was too dizzy to care, and then she'd say that he coached her to say that it was consensual afterwards, to the point where he was so sweet to her that they ended up even having a consensual fling. When that fling ended, she would notice that terrible rumors would start to spread about her. People would hear that she was manipulative, bad, awful. Mizkif would go as far as telling others that she... God, how do I say this without being demonetized? He'd say that she would produce lines of ketchup from her arms with a sharp object while having sex. Yes, I think... I really hope that's clear enough. Then when she got in a relationship with Lakari...
Who does that?
He would still constantly shit-talk her and spread rumors about her. So that's how it worked in Austin, right? Everyone was trying to make it as a content creator there, and at the top of the food chain, you had the OTK boys.
During my relationship with Lakari, he'd regularly talk shit about me and consistently tell Lakari that he's an Orlo Cuckoo. He tried poisoning our relationship the whole time. He plant ideas into Lakari's head to start fights. That's fucked up.
Rumors could make or break all your collaborations, all your invites to parties, and no one would bother messaging you to verify. Austin in general was a hellhole, okay? It was like Game of Thrones. As this was all happening, a clip would resurface that was posted recently, I mean this was in 2025, of the two streamers Yugi and Arki teasing Mizkif about Imiru being happy without him, right? Implying that they were in a relationship even though this wasn't public
This
yet.
is
Mizkif's
so
reactions
good.
were
This is such a good clip.
definitely interesting to say the least. Watch for yourself.
Dude, you know one of my favorite collabs was Emeru, bro. Oh my god, Emeru was so cool. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Dude, everyone was like so cool.
Dude, they were rage baiting him so good, dude.
Because we were with Sina and Bonnie, but it's just the thing that Emeru, when she popped up, I was like, dude, Emeru was like, I'm not gonna lie, everyone's been so cool so far, except for like, I feel like there has to be like a cancer. Like,
look at his face, dude. He wants to punch them so bad.
But definitely, like Emeru was definitely probably one of the best.
Do you think that phases me at all?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
What do you mean? That, like, none of this like, I don't think you understand. Bro, you can't hurt me. There's nothing you can do.
He's actually matching the emote. He's matching the emote.
What are you talking about?
No, I'm not talking about anything.
We collabed with Sina, Bonnie, and Emeru the other day.
That's great. That's fine. Enjoy yourselves, brothers.
Whoa, bro, are you okay? Are you good?
They're clever.
Yeah, I'm
They're clever
good. I
for
just
that.
gotta go to the bathroom. Like,
They're
give me that.
wicked.
Dude, no, I'm fine.
It's okay.
I know it's okay.
Dude, wait, what's wrong?
Are we in therapy or something, bro?
Yeah,
This
what
is
did I
fine.
say?
You said nothing. You said you're gonna collab. That's cool.
Do you ever see like hyenas biting lions in the butt, trying to like annoy them and get them away from their kill? That's literally what they're doing. Except Mizkif is like turning around and going like, arr, arr. They're just laughing.
I have no problem with that. I told you there's no issue.
You used to live with Emerald, and then all of a sudden you wanted to use Emerald to become bigger. And you
His lower teeth are.
so then you.
His face, dude. He's about to murder them in broad daylight.
Dude, he's literally the lion.
And everyone's been like having way more fun and doing way more cooler things.
What even are you spinning?
Dude, everyone used to always be in a room. Now she's like going IRL and having fun and doing a lot of cooler stuff now.
It's good thing she disconnected from you because
Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord.
You would have brought down the vibe.
So funny.
Yeah.
I love them. They're such funny dudes. I would be
Wait, everyone's
crying
actually having so much more
laughing.
fun. Like she's IRL, she was grilling, doing all.
He was triggered beyond.
I will say, good for him for not clocking them, like, because he looked like he was about to. I'm not gonna lie. I'm surprised he didn't do something. He looks so pissed.
Belief, dude. It was insane. Looking back at this now, it's even crazier. Now look, at this point, the entire world was on fire, right? That's how it felt like. People, including myself, were wondering, when is Mizkif going to respond? Is he going to need a day, a couple days, hell, a week? Is he going to disappear? What's going on here? To many people's surprise, a few hours after Emiru's stream, he would go live himself. The stream would last around 40 minutes, and it would be an absolute disaster, okay? It was very obvious that he very quickly kind of came up with a statement, didn't really rehearse, didn't really ask anyone's opinion, and just went with it. He would confirm the majority of the things that Emir was saying. The fact that he controlled her, told her to dress older, stop wearing pajamas, prevented her from traveling without him or going out with
receipts whatsoever either.
certain people, pretty much confirming that he was a very controlling and crazy boyfriend. He'd say things like, oh, you know, the reason why she got a black eye was because I threw my phone at the bed and it bounced back. It wasn't me throwing the phone at her. But hey, she was also abusive too because she threw plushies at him. I'm not even joking. He said that with a straight face. He'd say that the first year was wonderful with her. They kept everything secret. He had a doggy door on his door, and that's how Emir was able to go into his room while keeping it a secret from his other roommates. And just as Emiru had predicted, right? Like word for word, he would show a video of how Emiru's rabbit cages looked, right? Implying that she was abusing them and that they died because of her lack of care. He'd say that she had too many, she couldn't take care of all of them, and she was directly responsible for them dying. Look, I can tell you right now, having watched all this stream live, this was maybe the only notable thing he had against Emiru, okay? I mean, the whole thing was
not even relevant to the situation is what I'm saying.
Disaster. He still had alerts on. Someone was donating 7777 as he was saying very serious things. He'd make a couple jokes here and there, just like Mizkif always would, trying to deflect, but this time it wouldn't work. And yeah, before I forget, when it came to that story where he sexually assaulted her, he wouldn't say that they were hugging as she was crying. He said that they were cuddling, and he thought that this was where it was headed. It was an honest mistake. Yes, him slipping his hand in her pants was an honest mistake. Anyway, seeing that the whole rabbit thing was the only dirt he truly had on Emiru, one of her friends of over 10 years would come out with his own statement saying that no, she doesn't abuse her animals. In fact, what happened was that
rabbits are dirty animals. They shit and poop all the time in abundance. Peppa, you got some explaining to do.
Cage in particular was left behind because she was moving out to a new house alone and took her bunnies with her already. He'd of course talk about how dirty rabbits are, about how often they poop, about how they poop up to 200 to 300 pellets per day and that it doesn't smell. He'd argue that the rabbits that did indeed die had bad genetics. It was simply unlucky. He'd show us a picture.
Yeah, or they get scared and die of a heart attack.
Of the new cage in her house and would indicate that everything's normal there. She wouldn't let it get that dirty while her rabbits are in it. Finally, he'd mention how Mizkif would refer to them as rabbits, but he doesn't even know any of their names, not a single one, saying that to him this was nothing more than opportunity and he actually didn't really know anything about them. And just as he thought that things couldn't get worse, here is truly a display of how dangerous parasocial viewers can be. There are people who are saving clips for years, waiting for the day that Mizkif gets canceled so that they can resurface.
You don't know what it's like to be a schizo, chat.
them for everyone to see. At some point, Maya was on a podcast, and Mizkif comes in and pulls off her headphones in a very weird way. This was years ago, okay? And someone posted it shortly after Emiru had come out with her statement to showcase that Mizkif has always been weird to his partners. Watch.
I think Miz is coming up here, but I think his chat ratted on him.
Oh, spam when you say something, Maya. They spam for like...
Loser!
Oh, there he is! He's
loser!
Third place. Hey, that's third place. That's third place.
Loser.
Third place.
Loser.
Second loser.
Loser.
Matt, if you broke that headset, you are DMing Shroud right now.
Don't drop it. Go get the SIM jar. Matt? Throw the SIM jar. He's in trouble.
What an attention whore you are. Oh, he doesn't have the thing on.
Yo, Michaela calling him out Insta. That would have been me. I'd be like, you little attention whore.
Oh, damn.
So the poster would
Fucking Michaela calling him out like that.
argue that this is important context. Emiru describes Mizkif downplaying all the objects he threw at her as simple jokes. Anything he did
And
that
he
was
tore
weird was
that
defended
headset
as
off her
his
head,
shtick,
too.
as content, as clip farming. So yeah, this was definitely weird, and he did this shortly after losing a tournament in Mario Kart, I believe, on stream. Another old clip, I don't know from where, would get dug out from the dredges of the swamp, right? It would be a 1 and 21 second clip in which you could hear Mizkif berating Maya, saying, "Get the fuck out of the house." Now look, unfortunately, most of this clip would get interrupted by donations, very cringy, stupid, loud donations. But yeah, you could see him screaming at her. I mean, look, this is like a short snippet of what happens. Watch. He'd be screaming at her, saying, "You're a dumbass, you are dumb, Maya," etc., etc. So
Jesus, man, through the noise gate too.
Not really a very pleasant conversation.
Cringe.
So overall, these past clips are indicating to us that, oh, he's always been this way to his partners. He's always kind of treated them badly. It is important to mention that Maya hasn't said anything since this happened with Emiru, right? And I don't think she will. She's too busy managing her wildlife sanctuary to care. But at this point, you don't really need to go back to his previous relationship with Maya to really see how bad of a person he was with Emiru, you know? And just as Emiru had predicted, barely a week after her stream, Mizkif would file a defamation lawsuit against her and Asmongold. Now you ask any lawyer, like Legal Mindset for example, about how this lawsuit's gonna work, what are the odds of him winning, and it is hilariously bad. Look, just to explain to you, when you sue someone for defamation in Texas, right? This isn't Japan. You can't sue someone for defamation because they made you lose money as they were saying the truth. Like, for example, you harass a coworker, it's true, they talk about it publicly, they make you lose your job, you can still sue them and get money out of them because they cause you to lose money. It doesn't matter if it's true or false. In Texas, though, it's different. You have to prove that the people you're suing knowingly lied, right? They said those things and knowingly lied about you. You have to prove that they knew that they were lying, and you have to prove that this cost you severe monetary damage. How the hell do you prove that someone was knowingly lying about you? And by the way, lying. They have to be lying. It's
you
not like
literally have to say it in a DM or something between the people. That's what he has to provide proof of. They'd have to be so stupid to like admit that to him personally or other people.
Japan, where they can be telling the truth and you can still sue them. It's clear that Emiru has a team of lawyers. She was reading a very well-prepared statement. Nothing she said, as far as she knows, is a lie. So again, just as she said on her stream, he will attempt to sue her even though he has no chance of winning. He will lose this lawsuit, and I don't even know why he's bothering. Adriana Lee lost against Mizkif and OTK for a reason, right? As you remember, she sued for defamation. Right now, if you go to Mizkif's Twitter profile, you'll see in his bio, still owner of OTK, now in lawsuit. As if that'll change anything. But hey, it seems that Emiru is doing fine at least. On November 7th, she would appear on someone else's stream and would say that she was considering replying to Mizkif's poem that he sent her, but then found out it was written by AI. She laughed about it. And as I'm recording this part of the video on the 12th of November 2025, she went live for the first time since she talked about Mizkif. She has, of course, more viewers than him. Let's hope he doesn't drive 150 miles per hour in his car. But if he does, let's hope it's on an empty road with no innocent bystanders. Now, Mizkif, on the other hand, during his stream, would say something.
Yeah, for those that don't know, apparently they'd get into screaming contests in the car while he's driving, and he would just be like, "I'm gonna end it all! I'm gonna end both of us!" while driving really, really fast.
Thing very interesting. The fact that he doesn't care anymore. The fact that he was going to go, quote unquote, demon mode against everyone now. He was going to expose everyone. Text messages, proof over the next couple
Where's
of
the
days.
demon
I,
time,
as well as many
man?
others, were looking forward to it. What does he have to expose after being, like, completely destroyed in public? Well, nothing. It's been 16 days, and he hasn't posted anything. Demon mode my ass. The only thing Mizkif has posted was on November 7th. It would be on his Instagram, and it would be an absolute disaster. I don't even know what this is, dude. Just watch for yourself.
What the fuck is this, man?
Fuck you, motherfucker.
I don't know, man. Can someone in the comments explain to me what this means? Because to
It means I'm retarded. There's nothing else to it. Yeah, where's the demon time, bro? I really was looking forward to that part.
me, it just seems like he's acting like a victim. Like, dude, we're not saying fuck you for no reason. There's a reason people are giving you the middle finger. It's insane what ego does to someone. On his YouTube, on the other hand, he just keeps posting shorts of his previous content, as if nothing had happened. Look, this is him getting a hair transplant. Isn't that wonderful? As if nothing had happened, right? God, I mean, what can I even say about this? I was there to witness this guy rising above all else in the streaming world at a speed never before seen. But I was also there when he tried to play himself out to be the victim when Adriana Lee went after him, as well as Trainwrecks. I was there when he was attempting to rebrand himself. I mean, I literally watched his Iced Coffee Hour podcast, and I was there when I watched it all get absolutely destroyed in real time in one night. Mizkif, just like many other content creators before him, is the same warning that we've heard 1,000 times over. Once you reach those high numbers, once you start making a lot of money, once you start feeling invincible, it is so important to stay grounded with the people that you keep around you. It is so important to not let ego take hold of you. Was Mizkif always some sort of psychopath? Or did that only happen once he started gaining more popularity? Who knows?
You know what it is, in my personal opinion? I think he had the perfect opportunity. He was always egotistical. You know people like this at your workplace. Maybe it's in your family. They were always like this. It's that money and opportunity and clout will make them go crazy.
What I do know, though, is that he did all of this to himself. He has no one else to blame, and that's a fact. At this point, there's nothing he can do. Even an apology won't do anymore. He's screwed up too many times in the eyes of the internet. Does that mean he has no fans whatsoever? Does that mean his career is truly over, one and done? Of course not. It's never that simple. I always say this, but if Dr. Disrespect can still have a successful career after messaging a minor, then anyone can. But we both know that that's not enough for Mizkif, okay? He wants higher viewers. He wants to be the center of attention. And while he could probably keep having thousands of concurrent viewers, people who cannot let go of their parasocialism when it comes to Mizkif, he'll never be able to attain his average viewer count of 40,000 that he had back in 2021. And that's truly what could make him stop streaming and retire for good. Is he actually going to go demon mode?
I kind of think he'll keep streaming. He can't stop. What is he going to do? Get a real job? Fuck no.
Is he actually going to expose other streamers? I doubt it. Is he going to win his lawsuit? Hell no. Is he going to keep streaming? Time will only tell. Either way, he's paused all comments on his videos and disabled likes when it comes to YouTube. And that Instagram reel maybe showed us that he truly still thinks he's the victim and that he's done nothing wrong. Either way, I wish Emiru and the victims the best. I hope they can move on from this. And when it comes to Mizkif, I just hope that justice is served as it's meant to be. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Let's hope this year can end on a good note.
Why did it have to be this still, man?
2025 has been
His
ridiculous.
stare is so powerful,
and I'll see you in the next video, whenever that is.
Thanks, Mujin! Chad, it's wild. I gave my girlfriend a black eye. Anyway, thank you, Ass Goblin, for the 5 gifted subs. Dude, I'll tell you what, when he couldn't figure out how to turn off his TTS and people were like, just spamming it the whole time. It was so funny, man.